Hello there friends, my name is Rachel, GNS Middle. Gilbert and Sullivan is my middle name and my middle name is my last name. And I am here today on behalf of Forbear Theatre to explore the magic of the Gilbert and Sullivan operas. End of sentence. You'll see that today I have tried to do, for the very first time, makeup that involves like covering my eyebrows. And I'm really proud of how it's gone. It's my very first try. This one is much better than this one. You see, I can't quite get that to cover up. So if anyone's got any tips, like, please let me know. What do you think my drag name should be? Is my drag name just Rachel GNS? Maybe it is. If you haven't already, please do take a moment to subscribe to the channel. Or if you really love this channel, / really love me, consider donating to Forbear Theatre. We'd be very happy to receive your donation. Theatre is incredibly expensive. So today we're going to be talking about Dick Dauntless. In response to my video of who I'd least want to be friends with in the GNS canon, a number of people responded publicly and also privately to me saying that, oh wait, of course Dick Dauntless is on the list, he's awful, he's manipulative, he says he's gonna get Rose from, then he doesn't, then he like blabs about Robin's status to Despard, an all-round bad piece of work. And I just want to take a whole video today to explain why it is that I don't believe that Dick Dauntless is inherently bad. Of course, every single comment I've received about this topic, they are all extremely valid interpretations of Dick Dauntless, and he could be played that way. It is consistent with the text, and I see why some people do it. I see why the temptation is, when you see a person who acts like that, it's to kind of make them manipulative and bad. I would then ask them, like, as an audience, or like as a director, as a performer, if you see a character behaving in that way, who is doing it because he's mean or because he doesn't really like Robin and he's just out to get him and he's just a really, really selfish guy, like, what does that say? I know that to some people that might sound like actory, flowery nonsense, but I just believe that when you're putting on theatre, when you're playing a character, there should be some kind of purpose for it. So is it just to say, oh yeah, some people in this world will screw you over? Yeah, I guess. Is that helpful to anyone? Do people not already know this? Like, I am frighteningly aware of that. And I think that is why when I put on shows as a director, I'm very against just making characters bad. The vast majority of people in this world, I think, are doing their best, or at least believe they are doing their best. But it's just that people's best and people's goals conflict with each other. I tend to think that even though I have been screwed over a lot in my life by a lot of people, even though I know that, I don't believe that the people who did that are like rotten inside. I believe that they just panicked, or they just did a thing to get themselves out of trouble, or they felt threatened by me, or something along those lines. I don't believe that people are just evil or bad. Even Alexis, I don't think actually has the conscious thought who said, wow, I'm going to screw over Aline and make her really unhappy. It's just, that's what narcissists do. Narcissists' automatic response is just protect myself, because I am obviously the person that knows best. So anyone else who disagrees with me is just obviously wrong. It's almost innocent in a way. So let's get on to Dick Dauntless. Let's see if we can go through the opera and try and understand this guy a little bit more. So, what do we know about Dick Dauntless? He is friends with Robin, and he is a sailor. And it later becomes apparent in some of the dialogue that he's not really the quickest person. Like, he doesn't really catch on. The fact that Robin was able to manipulate that situation and get Dick Dauntless to agree with him, to say, oh yeah, you know, rum's your bane, or, you know, you're a ladies' man, and the fact that Dick Dauntless, like, happily agrees with him, that does show that he really isn't very quick. And I think that's actually a little bit mean of Robin. Not that I'm saying Robin is a bad person either. Robin has his own demons. But it's a little bit manipulative of Robin because he knows that Dick isn't really the cleverest guy. He is a few sandwiches short of a picnic. Plus, he's been away at sea for 10 years. He's probably not seen many people other than sailors, so he's just kind of forgotten how to interact with people. Yes, he does come back and he does see some of the ladies' chorus, the bridesmaids in the briny sea, but he's mostly just concerned with singing about what he's done. Let's get into the lyrics of that song. So the first verse to me doesn't seem that problematic, that he's just saying, oh, we saw a French ship and they fired on us and we answered by firing back and that stopped her. That stopped the ship. So that's the first verse. Second verse, there are problematic elements in that. Fighting the French is like fighting a girl. Yeah, that's not a cool thing to say, and I don't like that, but I can definitely see how that would have been just the language of sailors. And then the third verse, yeah, it's just saying we left the ship and they all kiss each other's cheeks and we're happy. And yeah, so as I say, apart from this song being really sexist, I don't really see like how that says anything bad about Dick's character. That's just kind of sailor talk. People still say today, you hit like a girl, you throw like a girl. So I don't think we can really paint Richard Dauntless with like a bad brush just because of this sexist language. I don't like it, but a lot of people were doing it. So I'm going to give him a slight pass because, you know, he's been away for 10 years. He's probably not seen many girls or women. Let's get into the scene with Robin. So he loves Robin. That is what I genuinely believe. I think it's quite easy for us to look at the very rich, eloquent language that G&S characters use and think, oh, well, that's not how people speak. So he couldn't possibly mean it. But isn't G&S just more interesting when people mean what they say? So he almost launches into an explanation about how many French ships he's taken, but then he sees that Robin isn't feeling happy. So he asks him, what's brought you? All a cockbill. And then Dick Dauntless has nothing but compliments for him. What, you love in vain? No, I won't believe that. Why can't he mean that? Let's just imagine that he means that. Let's just imagine that he really does love Robin and he really is excited to see him. Let's just hold this fact steadily before our minds. 3 large sausage rolls. Richard has this very strong belief that your heart should be your guide. And that is what those two agreed together. Robin, do you call to mind how years ago we swore that come what might, we would always act upon our heart's dictates? So the two of them have this agreement. And that is the kind of person that Dick Dauntless is. He is extremely spontaneous, he speaks without thinking, and he follows his heart. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. And Robin agrees. Robin wishes he could be more like Dick Dauntless. He says as much, I give my right arm for 1/10 of your modest assurance. Because Dick Dauntless knows who he is. And there's something really innocent and beautiful about that. Then let's get into the scene with Rose. So I want everyone who just thinks Dick Dauntless is a terrible person for doing this. Have you never had feelings for somebody that you shouldn't have had feelings for? Robin does love her, but he's also done nothing about it. It does seem to me that Robin doesn't really care about Dick Dauntless that much. If you look at their previous scene, it seems more like he's a little bit irritated with him. And in subsequent scenes, we also see that. They don't really seem like terribly good friends to me. Also, Dick Dauntless has been gone for 10 years. He's not even been around. Aye, aye, my lass. Well said. I am agitated, true enough. Took flat aback, my girl. But 'tis naught, 'twill pass. This here heart of mine's a dictating to me like anything. Question is, have I a right to disregard its promptings? So often I've just seen comments which seem to just automatically assume that he cannot mean this, that this cannot be an earnest thought of his. But why not? Imagine if you were in a similar situation. So imagine if, like, you had a friend who said, oh yeah, I've really got my eye on this person, but I'm kind of scared to say something. But then you go and you like get to know this person. Of course, it happens instantaneously in Ruddigore, but this is an opera, so everything has to happen quickly. But just imagine that you get to know this person that your friend fancies, and there's a real connection between you two. Like, would you honestly, like, not even have the thought? Especially since Robin hasn't even said anything. I have come to realise in my most recent relationship that when you really, really love somebody, you cannot help but be honest about it. Like, communication becomes the easiest thing in the world. Because you're like, this needs to work, because this is the strength of my feelings. And I remember that when I first got together with Dan, I was like a little bit nervous about really being completely open about my feelings because I'd been let down in the past, but ultimately I couldn't hide them from him because that was just the way I felt. And I get what it is to be nervous and awkward, and I have a tremendous amount of sympathy for Robin. But I do also kind of see where Dick Dauntless is coming from, that Robin has had all this time to say something and he hasn't, and really, how much can a person really fancy another person if they've not said anything at all, if they've not made it known? Are they just that cripplingly shy? Maybe. But from Dick Dauntless's perspective, who he says what he feels and he's very open, do you think he could really resonate with that? Do you think he would really look at Robin and think, oh, well, Robin definitely really, really loves Rose Maybird? Or do you think he would think, well, actually, I'm the one that obviously loves her more because I'm willing to just say it. And why shouldn't I? And just plain devil's advocate, yeah, it's a bit sneaky. And certainly he would lose a friend because of it. But maybe he thinks that's a price to pay. Maybe he thinks, look, like, I didn't want to lose a friend. And he obviously is struggling with the decision. Like, he says, oh God, ought I to do this? He is struggling with it. But ultimately he decides, you know what, this is worth losing my friendship for. Because I have such a strong chemical bond with this person who I see before me. I can definitely see why people don't like that action that he takes. But does that make him a bad person? Does that make him a bad, manipulative, nasty person? I don't think so. He himself is even worried about that action. Then moving on to the scene with Despard. Of course, we're skipping over the scene with Robin because we've talked about it, but all that really says to me, that scene, is that Dick Dauntless really isn't the clever, manipulative person that people think he is, because he's so easily won over by Robin's manipulation. Robin is the true mastermind of that scene, and Dick Dauntless is just like, yeah, thanks, Robin. Oh, you're a true friend. And it's actually really sweet in a way, and I feel a bit bad for him. But then, you know, it all works out. Rose changes her mind, which is a perfectly acceptable thing to do. In the scene with Despard, again, people aren't believing the words that Dick Dauntless is saying, perhaps because they don't believe a person could be like that. But when I read the words, the question is, ought I to tell your honour this? All the evidence we have received so far about Dick Dauntless and his character is that he thinks and acts and speaks quickly. He isn't the brightest person. It is completely consistent for me that he genuinely didn't even realise what he was saying. His aim with going up to Despard was to ask him if it was morally correct for him to tell him that his brother was still alive. I think it's funnier that way. I think that's what Gilbert wanted, because otherwise why would he write the words that he wrote? Why do we have to assume that it's manipulative and sarcastic? Why can't we accept Dick Dauntless as a character who really is this stupid? Because everything else in the entire play backs up that conclusion that Dick Dauntless is this quite unintelligent, very innocent, very high energy, easily manipulated, quite vulnerable, open-hearted person who is definitely able to make mistakes, who has flaws. And to me, that makes him such a wonderful character, because when that scene with Despard is played with total innocence, I think it's way funnier. I think that this scene is my favourite scene in Ruddigore. A lot of it is because of Despard's monologue at the beginning, fair enough. But I love the way that these two characters communicate. Because you've got these two characters who, to me, are essentially pretty good guys. And they are innocently having this conversation, but at the same time having this like meta conversation. Like, ought we to be having this conversation? I think we should be having this conversation. Because Dick Dauntless, look at this. He sees that Rose has now gone off with Robin, and really, in all rights, he should leave that alone. He should. However, there are certainly relationships that I've seen my friends getting into in the past, and I've been like, ooh, I don't know. I can see that you think you love that person, but is that person really right for you? Like, they didn't even tell you they loved you until someone else did. So whether that person is Dick Dauntless himself, it doesn't really make too much of a difference. I can definitely see how he still believes that something happened there that maybe shouldn't have happened. And I want to talk to somebody about this who I respect. So when Dick Dauntless comes into the scene, not only is he thinking, something that happened may not have been quite right there. I think Rose would be happier with me. We had a real connection. Like, we sang this really intense love duet together. Does that count for nothing in the GNS world? But also, he sees him and he starts to think, Despard is really suffering. And maybe he shouldn't be. It's not right what Robin did. A lot of people in these comments are saying, oh, he betrayed Robin. Are we not going to even get into how much Robin betrayed Despard? Are we not even going to get into that? Like, yeah, all of these characters have flaws. They all have good hearts, but these really gaping flaws. And that's what makes them so interesting. And if you start to fall into the trap of thinking, oh, this one character is like a really nasty character and is just manipulative and is like the villain, I just think that you're missing a huge part of what Gilbert intended with these characters. He clearly was very good at making innocently well-intentioned characters that had these huge flaws, whether they be cowardice or just speaking and acting without thinking, or allowing their emotions to get away with them. Like, these are real flaws that humans have. And think of the number of times that situations like this have happened in real life. I have actually been in a situation before where I liked a person and I told somebody about that, and then later on that person, knowing what I said, went out and dated that person. Did I still remain friends with that person? Yes. Because things happen. You know, was I angry at the time? Probably for a bit. But people are impulsive, especially young people who have just been reintegrated into a society and are suddenly faced with all these new people, these new smells, new sounds, new situations. Of course they're going to be overstimulated. Of course they're going to make really quick, life-changing decisions without really considering what that might mean for the people they care about. I guess the reason I'm making this video is just basically a PSA of just be kind to people and just accept that people do make mistakes. The mistakes that Dick Dauntless, that Robin, that Rose make in this opera doesn't make them bad. You know, they're making these mistakes, but they're still likeable, sweet, innocent people. And if they weren't, why are you even enjoying these operas? What are you getting out of seeing loathsome, vile people argue and bicker and manipulate each other, accompanied by the comic music of Sullivan? Like, what are you getting from that? To me, I would rather see well-intentioned people and the conflict arise from just these intentions clashing and not coinciding with each other. Because that is more like what real life is. And I like escapism more than anybody. But what's really good is escapism combined with real humanity. This is why Ruddigore won my best ensemble of characters. Because the characters in Ruddigore are so fully realised. They are all so human. They all have good qualities, but then have flaws as well. They make mistakes. And that's what I love about them. And that's what I love about Gilbert's characters. And I don't think anybody could deny that it's because of this that makes Ruddigore one of the operas that's really loved, especially deep in the Gilbert and Sullivan community. People really love Ruddigore. It's a lot of people's favourite. And it's because of that. It's because of these wonderful characters. So while I take all these comments and I hear you and I get that, and I can see why that would make you think that Dick Dauntless was bad, like I really hope I've managed to somewhat change people's minds a little bit today. This is Rachel GNS Middle signing off after another bite-sized chunk of GNS fun. And I will see you for the next one.